Hi, it's Nina with Parish Learning Zone. Thank you so much for joining me for our weekly Wednesday webinar. Today, what we're going to be talking about is what school will look like in the fall for our students, what it might look like. Yesterday, Governor Northam released some guidelines for a 3-phase approach to school reopening. And so I know a lot of you and a lot of us parents, I also have kids who are in school in the public school system. A lot of us are wondering exactly what this will mean for the coming school year and for what school will look like in the fall. So I thought today I would take some time to go over the 3 phases and what the guidelines say that those phases will look like. And then I would love it if we could have a conversation and a discussion here about your thoughts on this 3-phase structure and what school will look like in the fall. And also anything that we can do at Parish Learning Zone to support you as a parent, especially during the first phases where it seems most likely that you will have your student at home with you and will be doing either distance learning or learning from home. So let's first go through the 3 phases, and I will link the phases here and the official guidance document that was released from the governor yesterday. So phase 1 is effective immediately. So we're currently in phase 1. And phase 1 says that all learning will take place online. And so the exception to that is students who have special needs. So for students who have special needs, they can be provided with extended school year services or in-person services as stipulated by their IEP team, including a parent, and these would be services that would be stated in their IEP. Also during stage 1, emergency childcare can take place at school for working parents, and that's really pretty much it. The rest of students are continuing with online education during stage 1. And there's no athletics, there's no extracurricular activities. Some things that have been taking place at the school, like school meals, will continue in the way that they've probably been done during the end of the school year and during the summer. And the buses are allowed to run, but there's a lot of stipulations about how that will take place. So there's a maximum on the buses of 10 students. There's also a maximum in a classroom of 10 students, and those students have to be spaced out in a certain way so that they can be an appropriate distance apart, at least 6 feet. So that's how phase 1 will work. And there's no timeline as far as, when we would go from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. Phase 2, there's a few more things that are allowed. All of the things from phase 1 still would apply in phase 2. But in addition to those things, schools are allowed to offer a summer camp type program to kids of all ages. They can offer limited in-person instruction to children in grades K through 3. So younger students would start to have some limited, probably meaning, so that they can maintain distancing less than every day and not all day long instruction. And also for students who are English language learners would be the priority, it looks like, during phase 2. Athletics and sports are addressed in phase 2, but the only way that they're allowed to take place is if while playing those sports or practicing those sports or competing in them, you can maintain a distance of at least 10 feet. So no contact and a distance of at least 10 feet with some strict guidelines for disinfecting shared equipment, and also with strict guidelines about spectators that are only allowed to be parents or guardians of the children who are playing the sport. For an outdoor sport, they're allowed to have 50% capacity or less than 50 people in an outdoor venue, or 30% capacity, less than 50 people in an indoor venue. And in the indoor venue, it is recommended that the people who were spectating wear face coverings. For stage 2, schools are expected to follow social distancing measures, and it stipulates that they're going to do additional cleaning and disinfecting, and that a distance of 6 feet should be maintained in all of the buildings. For the buses, it's pretty much the same, that they're trying to space children out. There isn't a limit of children on the buses necessarily, except that they do have to be spaced at a certain distance. In phase 2, children who live together are allowed to sit in the same seat together on the bus. Going into phase 3, all of the guidelines from phase 1 and phase 2 were also included in phase 3. With the addition of in-person instruction for all students. So that's the main big difference that I see in phase 3, is that all students would be receiving in-person instruction with pretty strict social distancing guidelines still in place. There would be remote learning options and exceptions for teachers and students that were not able to return to school because they were at high risk for severe illness. So there would be those options for certain teachers and students who were not able to return to in-person instruction. There's a lot of prevention strategies listed in phase 3, like restricting the mixing of classes, and these are also sort of more required in phase 2, but still recommended in phase 3, that the mixing of classes is restricted, not using communal spaces in phase 2, but restricting or staggering the use of communal spaces in phase 3. And there's a lot more details in the original document, which I will link here so that you can see those specific details and numbers. And then in phase 3, it says that there will be more guidance provided by an executive order about large gatherings, and that there will be more information given later on about sports and athletics. So that's pretty much all we know right now. So it is quite a bit of information, but I'm sure that we all are left with a lot of questions. And something that I think is also an essential piece of information is that for all of the stages, it's required that the schools follow the CDC, the Center for Disease Control recommendations, which include daily health screenings for staff and students, and also include cloth face coverings for staff and students as medically and developmentally appropriate. And they go into very specific information about developmental appropriateness and who would and would not be wearing a face covering depending on the circumstance. So for example, if you're a teacher teaching and you are 8 feet away from your students, you could not wear the face covering for doing that instruction. But if you're going around and getting very close to students to help them individually, or if you're in a crowded hallway where it's not possible to stay a certain distance apart, then that's when you would need to wear the face covering. So there's, as I said, there's a lot of much more specific information in the document that I'll link here. And what we were wondering, and what I was wondering as I was reading this, is we would love to hear some of your reactions and have a conversation about this. What are you thinking about the fall and school starting as a parent? What are some of your concerns about this three-phase approach to reopening? I know that as a parent of a student who will be a kindergartner and another student who will be a fifth grader, I have concerns. I'm concerned about how for the fifth grader, I will be able to basically what it sounds like supervise their online instruction until whenever phase 3 kicks in. I'm concerned for my kindergartner who's just starting school, what that school experience will look like for her. So I would love to hear your concerns and your questions here and have a discussion about that. I would also, and you may have seen our earlier question on Facebook, we are soliciting some feedback from you. We would love to have your feedback about what we can offer at Parish Learning Zone that would help support you as a parent in the end of the summer, or in the beginning or middle or throughout the coming school year. So we have some things that we've been thinking about. Just so you know, right now what we are offering is we are offering live and interactive one-on-one individual tutoring sessions in all subjects for students in kindergarten through college. And those, we have those for pretty much any subject area, students in special education programs, students who need corrective reading, math, middle school math, elementary school math, reading comprehension, AP calculus, physics. We have pretty much everything you could want there through individual tutoring. We also right now are offering some live interactive small group summer enrichment programs, and those are for students who are looking for something fun and interactive to do, where they get to see kids their age and do some project-based learning over the summer, and to keep your skills fresh if maybe you haven't had much instruction in a while. That's in a way that's really fun, and where you can do some projects with a licensed teacher. So that's what we're offering right now. I would love to hear your thoughts about what would be the best way for us to support you in the coming school year or towards the end of the summer. Would you like us to offer some programs to help students catch up on what they missed in the fourth 9 weeks? Would it be helpful for us to offer a supplement, maybe for elementary, upper elementary, middle, and high school students who may not receive in-person schooling at the beginning of the school year? Do you want us to consider offering some in-person individual tutoring at the beginning of the school year? Let us know what you would like and what would be most supportive to you. We're listening, and we would love to have your feedback as we're doing lots of planning over the summer to get ready for the school year with all of this new information. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for having a conversation with us and giving us your opinions, either in this post or in one of the other posts on Facebook where we ask some questions looking for feedback. I'm enjoying talking with you each Wednesday, and I hope that you'll join us next Wednesday at 1:30 for our free weekly Wednesday webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today.